This is Smithy.tv.
I'm Katie Ullman reporting for Katie Chats here at Smithy TV in downtown Toronto with director, producer, actor Lee Samuel Wilson. It's so nice to see you again.
You too, Katie.
Thank you. Tell me about the updates on Lion of Ireland.
Well, right now we're still in the development stage. I think last time I talked to you, I told you a little bit about the background of the novel. And I went to Ireland and met with the writer, Morgan Llewellyn, and we hit it off. Big time. She's a wonderful lady, one of Ireland's great historians now as well. So anyway, where I'm at now is I've kind of been trying to get a gentleman by the name of Fred Fuchs on board, who's been a bit of a mentor. He was a guy who I actually learned about from my uncle, Anthony Leo from Aircraft Pictures. And you know, Fred, he was at the CBC for a while. And he started his career in the U.S., working with a lot of people down there. So he's a brilliant guy, and he's been really, really enthusiastic about Lion of Ireland. As soon as I sent him, you know, basically the idea that I had, and I sent him all the details on the contract I had signed with Morgan for the rights and all that. He's kind of been guiding me along. So Fred is kind of helping me with that, and trying to get some Irish partners as well to make this a reality, which is kind of where we're at now, talking to people in Ireland, because it would really have to be a co-production based solely on the fact that we would probably shoot in Ireland. I mean, I'd love to have a lot of Canadians involved, and they will be, but it's such an Irish story, and you just can't build sets of 10th century Ireland. No, you can't, right? I mean, it's one of those things where Ireland, there's parts of that country that are still the same. Some of those castles. I mean, the monastery that Brian Boru was the first High King of Ireland. We're talking, you know, 1014. The monastery is still there that he went to school in. You know, so it's incredible. So anyway, so that's kind of where we're at now.
Great.
Yeah.
So just to recap a little bit, Lion of Ireland was on the New York Times bestsellers list. When you first read the book, what about the story really captivated you?
Well, you know, the book was actually given to me by my grandfather, and it actually became quite emotional for me, because he was a huge fan of the old movies like Spartacus, Ten Commandments, El Cid, the Vikings, all these great epic films, right, of history. He was a huge history buff. He was in the war, in the British Army, so he had served in Palestine, and he had a love for all those epic stories and that part of the world. And he had given me this book, and then he shortly died after of cancer. But it was his favorite book, and when I read it, it was really the story, this incredible story. It starts with Brian Boru when he's young, and his village is attacked by the Norse. And it's really Ireland, very much like Braveheart was, Ireland when it was all clans, you know, and they were easy bait because the Norse would come in and they could attack all the clans. So Brian Boru, his family was basically butchered. It was him and his brother who survived, and then he became this incredible, heroic, mythic figure, kind of like they always do, right? They killed 35,000 guys with their bare hands, kind of thing. But he did. He united all the clans, and he became the first High King of Ireland. So it's your classic Braveheart historical warrior film. But what struck me about it was the relationships in Morgan's novel, and how she writes a relationship between Brian and his brother, and Brian and his first wife and his second wife. It's just heartbreaking, and it's incredible storytelling. And it was so cinematic when I read it, you know, and you have something, a good product, if you want to call it, in film terms, or a good story when you're reading it. You can see the film in your head, and when the characters speak to you so clearly. And that's what it did for me. And, you know, so it was my grandfather dying, and it being his favorite book, that said to me, I have to do this one day. And it took me 10 years to get the rights, because they were owned by Warner Brothers. Right. Yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit, you were trained as an actor at Stratford Shakespearean Festival, and you will be returning shortly to work on Tommy. How did you get involved in that production?
Well, yeah, I mean, I trained through the Birmingham Conservatory, and so I trained as an actor and a director. And, you know, Stratford's always been one of those places that, you know, it's always been very romantic for me because it was my first experience of live theater going there. And, and it was that moment that I knew that's what I wanted to do, you know, was to be an actor. So any chance I could get to go back, you know, I jump at the chance because I just love the town, I love the festival, I love the theater, and I love the artists there. I mean, we've got some of the greatest designers, actors, and directors in the world there, and I don't know if a lot of Canadians realize that, but just how incredible it is, and the reputation it has around the world. You know, I've been lucky enough to travel a bit, and you talk to people, and they all know the festival, you know. So I guess how it started was, you know, with my relationship with Des McAnuff. I was lucky enough in 2010, Des, as the new artistic director, started a directing training program. And it was named after one of his mentors, who was past artistic director of Stratford, Michael Langham, who happened to be one of Christopher Plummer's early mentors as well. He had directed Christopher Plummer, the famous Henry V, which actually united French-Canadian and English-Canadian actors. So Des named this directing program after him, and I was invited to be a part of that. And with that became assisting, and so I was lucky enough where I got partnered with Des on that production. And so that relationship started with Des, and obviously I think he must have liked me a little because he's, you know, he's invited me back to assist him on Tommy, which is very exciting for me because it's a new frontier, being a rock musical. I mean, I'm not a musical guy, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what can we expect? Can you give me any insight into what this production of Tommy will look like and feel like?
Well, I can say it's going to be amazing. I mean, Des is truly a visionary when it comes to huge shows and this type of production. I mean, he is just so innovative, and what's exciting for me is he's always been kind of, for me, a visionary when it comes to technology. Even when we did The Tempest, I mean, here was this Shakespeare play with Christopher Plummer, who's one of our great classical actors, and the things Des did in that production, you would just go, how did he think of that? The way he uses lighting, the way he uses sound, the way he gets the other artists to embrace and go with these bold choices. And I really admired that about him. So I think with Tommy being the type of thing it is, with the Who's music, plus Des co-wrote it too, so he knows it, you know? He knows this piece. It's going to be quite outstanding. I think you're going to see some really bold, innovative things.
Great.
Yeah.
And who's attached to the project in terms of the cast? What parts of the ensemble will be in it?
Well, I mean, there's a young actor who's actually coming from out west, who I don't know. But what's neat about the story is that I directed The Crucible at Ryerson Theatre School last year, which is why I'm an alumni. I trained as an actor there. Funny enough, Des went to Ryerson as well back in the day. Well, my lead in The Crucible, Kira Gullion, she has been cast in Tommy right out of school. So that's really cool.
Oh, amazing.
So it seems to me Des is he's taken a bit of a chance and look at these young, incredible talents, which I think is very, very exciting. Other than that, the cast is still kind of coming out, so I don't know all the details yet, but this young cast is very exciting, and they're going to be new talents, new Canadian talents I think people should come and see because they're amazing.
Great. And where is the best place to find out more information on you and on Tommy and on Lion of Ireland online?
Well, the Stratford website is fantastic. I mean, they've got everything there, so if you want to go in, they've got a bunch of the cast and creative team on there now. When it comes to me, you can always follow me on Twitter, at Lee Samuel Wilson. I tweet a lot of stuff on acting, directing, producing, and some of my own work. So that's probably the best place to follow me. And then to get in touch would be lee@lineofireland.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Congratulations. And I
Thanks
look
so
forward to seeing your upcoming work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm Katie Ullman reporting for Katie Chats here at Smithy TV in downtown Toronto.